Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Well, I don't know what this is. This is just me talking with Justin Bishop.
Right.
Uh, Justin, how you doing, man?
Like I said, I'm doing better. Let me put this other one in.
Yeah.
But right now, only way, it's the only place to go is up. As far as arm wrestling, um, I hit Bama State last weekend, I think it was, and I was in Idaho the 1st of December, and pretty much nothing before that. So,
Yeah. I saw that. We're gonna talk about it, but I prepared for our talk by listening to Leonard Skinner, Sweet Home Alabama. Like about 10 minutes ago, it was blasting on my house. I'm like, yeah.
right. Hey,
And
Skinner's a good band. It's one of my favorites.
you
Not
know,
that
as an
particular song because we hear it so much, but they're a really good band.
Oh, they have a lot of good songs. Me, like most of Europeans, were kind of introduced to you at that point when you beat Giannis, in that tournament in UIL. What the fourth was, 2014,
Hmm.
something like that. And I remember after that, like I was kind of following you, and you had a nickname, Bama Bull, and I'm like, what does Bama stands for? Now I know.
Yeah. Oh, you never knew? Well, I never, I didn't
Yeah,
consider because I don't know half the countries in Europe. So I learned when I went
yeah,
to
yeah,
Moldova.
yeah,
But yeah, I can see that. Yeah, maybe I
yeah,
should have put
yeah.
Alabama.
No, no, that's
Yeah,
perfect. Because like, I know Rock, and he was drummable,
yeah,
WWE. Yeah, I'm
yeah,
like, what does that mean? So it's
yeah.
kind of funny.
I get that comment a lot from people from other countries. They put Brahma with the R.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I saw you kicking ass on Bama State Championship. So tell me, how's your arm wrestling going? Your left hand looked phenomenally good.
Yeah, well, within the last year, I'd say the last year and a half, I just hadn't been able to display it. But my left arm has felt, above 90% for the first time in quite some time. Um, and I had some shoulder issues. You always have a little elbow pain, but as of late, I have zero shoulder issues, and I've only been pulling it. WAL don't want you to pull too much, which they haven't told me no but one time, and they had a reasonable reason. But I didn't ask to pull right-handed, or I didn't tell them I was going to because I didn't plan on it. When I got back from Idaho, uh, I went to remodeling my house, so I hadn't been training. Which is why I
Hmm.
look a little lighter, a little leaner. I probably lost 5, 6 pounds in the last 2 months, which looks like 15 on me. And anyway, I felt good though. I've been practicing. I've been going to practice at least 2 or 3 times a month. So I've practiced 8 times between now and then.
Okay.
And so I was telling Neil this. It's like something I don't know. It's ever it's like I feel more comfortable at the table right now than I ever felt. As far as setups, reading other guys. Kind of figuring out what I want to do pretty quickly. Um, all of that stuff because you know I will say this though, had I known exactly who was coming to Alabama State, I would have said screw the remodel. I'd have been training, and
Hmm.
because I knew Dan was coming, and Craig and Robbie, and you know I didn't know Craig was coming or Dan till about 2 weeks before, which I
Hmm.
between you and I didn't plan on pulling at all. I had been debating on pulling left-handed because I pulled Alabama State every year for 10 years, and nobody, Craig's never showed up and pulled my class. Dan's never showed up and pulled my class. Um, and I've won every class at Alabama State. So there was nothing left for me to win. I was going to let a lot of my new teammates, just pull and see if they can win. And like I said, I hadn't been training. And then freaking the Wednesday of that week, I got some kind of stomach virus, and that my kids and my wife had the week before. And man, I was like a little girl. I mean, I don't get sick often, but I laid in the bed all day, which I felt fine the day of the tournament, which was 3 or 4 days
Yeah.
afterwards.
Still takes
But
something from you. Still takes.
well, I lost about 3 pounds, so I was 176 and a half the day I pulled. Yeah, so I could have made 76 pretty easy, but there was nobody I wanted to pull at 76, and I only pulled left-handed because my kids kept on, and it was my son's first tournament, so my wife's like, you got to arm wrestle, at least one hand, and so. But it ended up being a all day thing. Oh my God. I had such a pounding headache by the end of that tournament. It was 10.5 hours or so, about 10 hours. And I was announcing and halfway helping with the brackets and trying to arm wrestle. And,
Yeah, exhausted. Yeah, takes a
yeah,
lot out of you. Yeah.
yeah. And
So you just pulled left arm, yeah? Just the left arm.
yeah, yeah, I didn't pull
Yeah.
right. Well, to be honest with you, I wasn't going to pull in Idaho right handed either. Jeff asked me like 2 or 3 weeks before the tournament. He's like, "Hey, do you want to pull Jesse for the right-handed belt?" And made me an offer, and I'm like, "Sure, screw it." It's been feeling pretty good, and then I go look at Jesse, and I'm like, "Shit, okay." He looks pretty good. There's not a match on here where he's losing. And I hate it when there's very little footage of a guy. And
Losing. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, he only had like 6 videos altogether. And one of them's
Yeah.
beating Alan Ford pretty convincingly, and then beating Dan, I think it's Gallo, pretty convincingly. Which is I beat Dan before, and I know Alan's been out a little while, so we don't know where he's at. But I mean, when he sets up with him and he just mows through him, it's like okay, you don't get a lot of reads off of that. But
Yeah.
I knew what my advantages would be pulling him. It would be speed. It would be experience. So, I kind of stuck with that. And to my surprise, he had a really good cup. So I think it was the second I fouled, then he fouled, and I made an adjustment just to go in a hook with him. And, when I made that adjustment, it was pretty much a wrap. I feel like if I'd have stayed trying to fight outside, he might have wore my hammer out and got him a win in or something. But, it panned out. I was about 185 when I pulled him. So that ought to tell you the difference, in me training and, the
Yeah.
weight, as far as weight goes.
Yeah. Of course. Of course. More, a little bit more muscle. So the WF has, they've been putting you to pull middleweight right now, but
Mm-hmm.
like I see there should be something in between. It's like 30
But,
pounds or more. It's too big of a difference. Like
yeah,
it's
I've
huge
always,
difference.
and I've heard talks the last 2 years of them changing the weight classes, but I've never heard direct from WAL. I've heard
Okay.
people who talk to the top guys or whatever, but
Yeah,
I
yeah,
personally, I think it should be 85, 205, and supers if you're going to make 3 classes.
yeah,
Nobody, you have you're limited when you do 165. Not a lot of guys can make
yeah.
165. I mean,
175 at least, something like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
I
Because
mean,
like
cause
that would be like in a class between 165 and 205, whatever it would be something like for a
mhm.
lot of guys there, because like I believe Rob is at the end of that spectrum and you're at the lower part of this spectrum. So I don't kind of see it's being even or fair, in any sense.
Well, when I first started, the first 3 years, I hated guys cutting weight, and I hated the strap because I felt like, that's not real arm wrestling. You just walk up to the table, and
Yeah,
now I'm the opposite. I don't care if you cut weight. That's
yeah,
just going to give me X advantage or whatever. And
yeah,
now
yeah,
I don't even like arm wrestling outside the strap. So, but you evolve.
yeah. Let's go straight for the strap.
To me though, I want to be able to walk in the room, and I obviously know this will probably never happen in every room, but my goal is to walk in the room and be the baddest dude there. You know, whether and I mean baddest dude by I can beat you, not pound for pound. I'm better than you. because
Yeah,
I
yeah,
walk into a lot of arm wrestling events and I can't beat everybody, but I feel like if I sit back and watch everybody, I'm the better arm wrestler, in some cases anyway. But you know, um, weight weight's not that big an issue to me. I'm not the way I look at it. If they want me to pull lightweight, they'd ask me, because
yeah,
I'm not saying the hammer doesn't mean anything to me, but it's to me this is what means something to me. If I know I can beat everybody on that roster, I don't
yeah,
I don't have to go talk a bunch of trash. Like me personally, if I have to make 65 and pull Sam, I think I can beat him. I think Tony's the harder match. But if me and Tony talk about it, I guarantee you we'll meet at 75 and do it. I mean, but Tony's not trying to make 65. I'm not either. I mean,
yeah,
every
yeah.
guy in that class, with the exception of Sam and Jeff, don't care to make 65. Everybody would agree to go up to 75 except those two guys. You
Yeah.
know, because
Yeah.
Sam actually pulled a couple of guys at 170 or 72, and then he wanted to make Tony make 65, from what I understand. But I don't know. That's just what I heard. Because I was the same way. I was like, okay, we can do that. All right, well, I'm gonna make Rob make 95. You know,
Yeah.
And I asked, I was like, so, it's a title match. We got to make 95, right? And they're like, no, it's a 200-pound class. I'm like, no, it's never been a 200-pound class. It's 195, which I have no doubt Rob would have made the weight. It's just, me at
Yeah.
170 and me at 165, that's a big
Difference.
difference. Yeah.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It's
But
it's it's weird with those classes right there. Um. So how you look at this whole Bowen versus RVJ situation? Because if they would pull in WL, like I would be, I would say like I don't think you can walk past Justin, because of the history and everything else. I think like Ryan needs to pull you if he has advanced so much before he gets a crack at RVJ. How do you
I
see it?
think, well, I think the next person in line to pull RBJ is Paul Lynn, and there should be no argument there. That's just my personal opinion, looking at the roster, looking at the wins and losses. Um, and I think next in line after that match would be between three people who's already pulled him. Given that Paul Lynn, just say he did lose, or if he won, that takes a whole nother turn because Paul hasn't pulled a lot of people. But say RVJ won, he literally beat everybody in the fucking division.
Roster.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
um, but say he won and you wanted to keep him there, it would be me. Personally, it would be me, Storm, or Seal. I don't know that Seal can make that weight right now, and I don't know that he
He looks
wants
too
to.
big. He looks too big.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
looked
too
like
big.
a grown ass man last time I seen him, and that's what he felt like too. I thought I had
Yeah,
him.
yeah.
I was trying to be patient and should have just went for it. But he was talking about Bowen. I mean, he's pulled one match, right, in WAL and won.
Alan Guerrero. Alan.
Yeah,
Yeah, he beat
okay.
Alan.
I'll just
Yeah.
so. And if you ask me if you had a top 10, Allen would be bottom of the barrel. And that's not saying he's not good. You're on the WAL roster for a reason.
He just hasn't showed it yet.
Yeah, for me, I would have to put Bowen with a middle of the pack kind of guy. Um, and let's take Seal out of the match because he's super big. And I'm sure with enough motivation, he'd be willing to come down. So, my bad. So that leaves,
It's okay.
that leaves Paul, me, Storm. So there's top four. You'd have to give him somebody I would think like maybe Mike Solaris. Who's another guy in there? Maybe let him pull Tony. I think Tony will wipe the floor with him. That's just my opinion. I think Tony's got enough endurance and he's well rounded enough And personally, I think he's probably stronger than you. It's hard to tell, because there's not a lot of
Not a lot going on. Not a lot of
yeah,
good. Yeah, you can always compare someone by what they're doing now compared to the guys and similar guys they're pulling or the same guys. We like for 2 years we have seen none of that, because of
yeah.
COVID. But even before that, it's you need to have those tournaments on whatever.
And I'm gonna say, I know they're moving weights, and I've progressed 40 whatever percent or whatever the hell. But
Yeah.
in all honesty, I do these movements as well in my training. A little bit different style or whatever, but I do max efforts and stuff. And I have a guy that hasn't been arm wrestling but a couple of months. He was a jiu-jitsu guy, kind of like I was. So he's strong. He just doesn't know the art, and he wasn't a gym rat either. So anyway, he walks in there, and I'm doing a back pressure exercise with my towel because I like to grab it and pull. And this dude does the same weight I did, max effort. And we get on the table, and he can't move me that direction. So, moving a weight and moving an individual is two different things. Now, you can gauge in that movement, did you get stronger? But my problem with that is if you're not very specific on the position and the angle, the everything, it has to be the exact same.
We can both agree on that.
Yeah. And to me, the way that I see guys doing it is just terrible. It's giving you so much false information. Like I see guys picking up the weight and their hand is straight in line with their elbow. And I'm like, you're not gonna back pressure that. That is all shoulder. What are you doing?
That's bone. You're cutting through bone. You're taking leverage away from the muscle. It's like me and Giannis, we say it's just simple physics and biomechanic. That all arm wrestling is physics and biomechanic. Are you adding tension on correct angles? And when we move from 90-degree position to this, looks cool, doesn't work. Kind of doesn't work.
But that's, and I get all the time. When you gonna start putting training videos out and stuff? Most of the reason I don't is because I don't have time. The second reason is because my videos will be much longer than these guys because I'm gonna say stuff like I'm saying right now. Like, look, you might get on here and do twice the weight I'm doing right here. But to me, this is why. Take it for example. The curl, the strict curl everybody's been doing. I have not seen one person do it strict. Not one.
Engin
not
did
RBJ.
it strict. Yeah.
Well, I hadn't seen him. But,
in my opinion, everything strict means one joint movement. Like these are the same guys that will do bench press when their butt is off lifting with their butt up, and they will say like not even touching chest, and they will say strict bench press record. It's not. It's not. It's not.
No,
it's just not.
No. And when you cock your chest up another 6 inches, I mean, and I'm terrible at bench and one reason is because my arms are so damn long. I have to, the distance I have to travel from here to there is greater than this guy's. Should I be able to move the weight? Sure. But in realistic, I'm moving it 8 more inches than you, or, 6 or whatever. But, the strict curl, like Rob probably did it the best form I've seen, but even him, he was slightly bent when he started, and that, that may not seem that big of a deal, but when you're, that little 6 inches movement to get it started is probably the hardest, and Bowen was doing a lot of swinging. And you're making gains from that, but it's, you can't gauge it. All right, I'm going to go do 5 more pounds this week. And what if you swung it a little bit harder than the last time? You're getting false confidence in this area. And you go to hooks, this guy you thought you could hook with, and he smacks your ass,
Yeah. Arm wrestling, like every arm wrestling training should be not just specific. It should be very specific to what you're doing on table. If you don't see where you will apply it on table, like in real life, there's no point on some moves to do at all. And Yeah, I will say like strict curl. Of course, you're adding like overall strength to your bicep. Great. I believe, yeah, it works adding strength, but it doesn't transfer strength straight away.
Yeah.
It transfers it differently. So all these kind of like we have spent I don't know how many years trying to figure out the tests for arm wrestlers, and there isn't one. Like there's
No.
no that you cannot test anyone with like gives even 7 exercises. You will have some outliner, their overall how strong or whatever they are, but when you the table, what's happening on table, speed, the movement, technique, like those, like you're just looking at one thing, that's strength in one or many compound movements, and then there's 5 more things, and that's
Yeah.
arm wrestling. Yeah,
And
it's
I tell my guys, I said the one thing you can make up for against power is speed. I said if a guy can just stonewall you here, but what if you can get him to start here? I
yeah,
said
get them out
now you
alignment.
yeah,
Yep.
now you're working with something. And that's
Yeah,
something every time I pull a European, that's something I instantly think, I'm like, all right, they're gonna be
yeah,
fast. I gotta
yeah,
be fast.
yeah, yeah. It's
But
like you said, you were a jiu-jitsu guy. It would be the same thing as jiu-jitsu
yeah.
guys trying to measure some kind of strength when
Hmm.
all they do is trying to strangle each other, whatever. You cannot. There's only
Yeah.
one way to figure out who's strongest. We get on table. So this kind of measuring with our dicks is kind of ridiculous. For you, it gives some confidence when you do it. I do it. Everyone does it.
Yeah.
But when you get in these kind of, you lose direction. Because
Hmm.
my biggest problem has always been the table curl. When they're basically doing it like this, where
Yeah.
there's no tension on your bicep at all, and everyone's like doing 100 kilos, 120 kilos, and those guys cannot place top 100 in the world in their class. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous. Yeah,
Well, one of the things is, like you said, you got to be able to apply it on the table. And for me, I don't know what it is like. So after UAL 8, I was training. The way I was training, I was beating everybody in my camp, so they would be hitting into me, and I would just be cupping. And this is one thing I've had since before I started arm wrestling. I had a good top roll defense. My wrist flexion I had to work on, but my containment was there. And I was doing the super heavyweights in my club, just mowing through them. And I went to the tournament after that. I can't remember which one it was, but and everybody I pulled hit on me, boom, and I had to drag them back. And I'm like, what's going on,
because you're
And I
used to
just
doing that. Yeah,
yes, and
yeah,
that's in my camp, that's
yeah.
what I was doing, and I've heard from other guys. Camps, in other areas where the elite guys, when they come to train, all they do is hit the whole time. So, and I understand why, while I don't agree with it, but you can get, like I was saying, false confidence
Yeah,
or
yeah.
a catch
It's
bad
it's
habits.
you know it's kind of it's good for you, it's not good for everyone else, when you're hitting and when you're so strong. But we see this time after time, when you're the strongest guy in a club, you're kind of used when everyone just falls onto you
Mhm.
because there's nothing else to do, and you go to competition and there's a bunch of killers and everyone in, and you kind of used to, like, Devon is a great example. Like, he never
Mhm.
engages first, he's like, catching, but he's he got it down to different level, compared to
Yeah.
most of the people. But
Well,
most
he's a
guys, you need
python.
those kids. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. He likes to be that boa constrictor. I'm different. I like to be that viper. Let me get the hell out of here. You know,
yeah,
let me
yeah.
smack it, pay me, and let's talk about arm wrestling because my
Like,
elbows hurt.
one thing, Giannis came back from the UL tournament. He said, like, his riser was so good. Like Giannis said, he was like he was basically hitting into your riser and losing his wrist. So he figured it's better to hook you. So,
Hmm.
and I have seen videos of you just lifting, I don't know how many, like 35 kilos, 40, like 85, 90, but I don't know. But like there was a video of Devon doing it and then you did it or something like
Yeah,
that. Yeah, and those are like, I think I maybe have seen one or two guys here in Latvia can do that. and they all of them have great riser. So
Yeah.
did it was something you always had, or you're still working on it?
No, I mean it's something I work on all the time, mostly to keep it fresh. Where I because it man, my elbows. This is my 10th year, so that's one reason I don't really pull tournaments unless I want to with my right arm, because I feel like it's so long before I have to have it worked on. But that's something that somewhat come natural because I've been doing this kind of work since I was 15. So everything I do is this. So I have a
Okay.
really good
Yeah.
lock. And
Yeah.
when I figured out that I can just sit on it,
Yeah.
and with my containment, you know, and I
Yeah.
remember that like it was yesterday though. That was the first time I met Devin, Todd, a lot of those guys. It's the first time I ever met Pushkar. I remember how mean he looked because he was
Yeah.
yeah he was mad because the tournament was supposed to pay out 20K and
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They canceled it in the last
yeah
two. Yeah, I
and
remember Giannis was like he got off plane and I sent him a message which like it's canceled, and he's like,
yeah yeah
yeah, because she's like everyone lost their motivation for that, and it's good that UL basically took it under their wing and made it
yeah
something.
and
Yeah,
it turned it was a the silver lining for me because they picked me up after that. But I remember seeing Bob Brown that day, and I had been conversating with him a little bit on the internet, and he Giannis walks by, and I made weight. It was the easiest cut I ever made. I was in great shape. I'd been training like 6 months for this tournament, so and because at the time I had beaten everybody in the region, and I'm like, I got to go somewhere else. It's not enough. I want to be the best, and
yeah,
I went to that tournament obviously for the money, and anyway, I remember Giannis walked by, and Bob's like, that's Giannis Amalas. I'm like, who? He's like, that's the number one guy in the world right there. He's gonna take first tomorrow in your class. I remember I started laughing because Giannis is not as tall as me, and at the time I am in shape. Like I'm 8% body fat. I've been training. I'm
yeah.
confident. Nobody's moved me past center the last couple tournaments, and I'm just like, nah, Bob, nah. I was actually more worried about Eduardo Tiete because he was a mean hooker, and at the time the style of top roll I had, it was pretty easy to hook. But if you was
Yeah,
going
because
out,
you're so posting. Yeah,
yeah,
Giannis is very hard to cook for
yeah,
that because of low hand. Yeah, yeah,
and I was like, anybody going outside, I'm good. I feel good. If you beat me outside, you're just gonna beat me. But and when I did pull Eduardo, my only focus was be first, and I just right over. But Giannis, I've told him this on different occasions, but he fouled on that second match to get the hook in. He comes off the front at the bottom when I go to pin him the second time, and other than the fact it was a pin, because I seen his hand hit the pad, that's why I came up. But and I to this day I have yet to beat that man, and I feel like two of the times we arm wrestled after that, my arm was way stronger than his. He was just that good, you know. He's just that good of an
Oh yeah,
arm
you
wrestler.
arm wrestled in WL final one time and one in regionals.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
Yeah, that's that like even though you lost that match, because like from my perspective, like looking at and talking Giannis was really out of it, and first of all, he didn't expect for you to be that good,
oh yeah,
and he was
I'm
like,
sure.
the big tournament is canceled, and he's like, he's kind of out of it, no more motivation, and he thought just he would steamroll everyone, and he was super surprised. But the thing that basically I think it did good for you, it like you became a superstar overnight.
Yeah, off a loss.
It's yeah, off a loss. Yeah,
Yeah,
with so I think you and Giannis will cross your paths at one point. It's inevitable in my opinion.
oh
He
yeah,
needs to have a shot at title in WL and then see what's going on there. But
there's no.
that was a big moment in arm wrestling. That was
Yeah,
like, yeah, big moments in arm wrestling. That was a big moment.
well,
You made that
something I
moment
didn't
happen, man.
something
Yeah.
I didn't know till afterwards. There hadn't been an American ranked in the world in quite some time on Igor's list,
Yeah.
and I think I come in fourth or fifth after that match. Because I mean, there was a lot of killers in that class. You had Joseph LeVay, Eduardo Tiete, a couple other guys from Russia, I think, or Ukraine. That's where it was. Because the first guy I beat, he was from Ukraine. I don't even know his name. Um, but there, there was a lot of killers there. I didn't know hardly anybody. Like I said, the only person I knew was Eduardo, and I seen him pull with Alan Fisher. Alan Fisher was in the class. Luke Kent. Um,
Yeah.
a lot
There
of
was a stacked competition
yeah,
because, like, I remember the poster. The poster, there was John Jones on the poster with Michael
yeah,
Todd, I guess. World Bar Championship. Remember?
yeah, yeah.
and,
Oh,
I,
I was
and I
jacked.
remember that they made the post and they canceled it. And I'm looking at computer and I'm like,
Oh yeah. Well, I
yeah,
was still at home. I hadn't even got on the plane yet, and
yeah,
I'm like, well, hell, I can't get my money back for the ticket. I mean,
yeah,
what should I do? I mean, and at the
yeah,
time, I was broke as hell. I mean, I got a sponsor to pay for my plane ticket, so I was like, screw it. I'm gonna go see what happens. And the next week, I flew out to the UAL grand opening, and they signed me. And I ain't even mad about the UAL, even though they pretty much didn't pay me the last year I arm wrestled or sat at home and watched WAL go on, pretty much.
yeah,
Because I mean, I got memories from that league. This I'll treasure forever. I mean,
yeah,
I remember eating when all of us signed, the first 12 to sign with them. It was like Michael Todd, Todd Hutchins, just John Brezink, and I'm sitting at a table with these guys. I've been arm wrestling 3.5 years, and I'm sitting at a table eating and drinking in the Venetian Hotel, ordering a $250 steak.
yeah.
And
That's
I'm sitting
awesome.
over here. Yeah, I'm sitting over here. I'm like, this steak costs more than my car, man. you know,
Yeah.
but
Uh, It,
arm
it,
wrestling's been
it,
good to me, man.
yeah, it looks like that. Honestly, like I said, that one moment, change the world, show you to the world, and everyone knows who Justin Bishop is right now. So, um, what's your plans on competing? Are you coming to the? You were in Moldova. Then we met in Richmond. In
Hmm.
WL 403, something like that. When Giannis
Yeah.
was pulling, and me and Vlad, and we had a great after party after that.
Hmm. I still don't know why Giannis wouldn't arm wrestle me.
um, he was keeping his arm for because he wanted to compete in that tournament, Arizona, that we went there. Like
Yeah, I'm
we
just
were arm
joking.
wrestling, me, you, Vlad. We just
Hmm.
didn't care.
And I think Tom. Yeah,
Tom,
Tom's a killer that people don't give enough credit to.
that tall hand that can top roll
Yes.
hook, and it's so like Giannis was that match was so good, but I expect always Giannis to be here. He's very
Yeah.
fast, and he didn't do that. On the first
No.
round, he did, and after that, he kind of stayed because he was kind of worried that his long hand will press him out of alignment and basically leave him exposed. So better strategy was to cup him and stay there. And
Yeah.
he cups him and he says like, and there's nowhere to go because his arm is right here, in
Yeah.
your shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tom is a killer. Tom is a killer. And again,
He's
yeah,
hard to top roll, man. Real hard to top roll. And
yeah,
he told me the only reason he hasn't been top rolling is because his wrist has been jacked up for some time.
yeah,
But yeah, he definitely you gotta watch out for that guy. I was actually in his corner, and I told him
yeah.
after the
I
first
remember.
match, I was like, "What are you doing? Why are you're looking around and shit? Get it over with. If
Get
you
it
felt
over.
comfortable, go.
Yeah,
You're not
yeah,
pulling some average Joe. This is
yeah,
potentially the greatest lightweight of my time. You could certainly make the argument. I mean, but
yeah,
that was a
yeah.
good match that day. I felt good too.
Yeah, you and Solaris was like all of those matches, like Krasi versus Barboza was
Yeah, that was
insane.
probably my favorite.
Yeah, that was just insane. And it was a good, like my first experience on WL was like,
Yeah,
real
they
good.
they they put on top notch tournaments, man, and events. I mean, I like the Supermatch series. Um, I think if they could afford to, it would be to their best interest to do a few
More.
tournaments a year. Yeah, you just throw a couple tournaments. You'll
Yeah.
see, a couple guys shine and give those guys shots to make the roster.
Yeah. Yep.
That's how you find good talent. That's what UFC
Yeah.
does with their
Contender series.
shows. Yeah,
Contender
yeah,
series. Yeah. They make those. But yeah, WL needs more. Like the plan before everything collapsed, in COVID was to do some tournaments right here, I believe, from Neil's side.
mm,
And that would be because there's like, okay, Latvians, there's Swedish people that are competing there, and UK. So you have good, and they just need more because it's like 36 super matches, throughout the
yeah,
year, and it's too little to make
yeah.
any good conclusions, to have real good rivalries, something like that. And again, and it's again, how many times we're going to see Jerry versus Michael, and I think we need
Yeah,
another one. you know
yeah. I mean, based on the last one, I mean, I was
yeah,
there for that too. That was
yeah, yeah,
I've seen Michael angry a couple times, but I was
yeah,
there when he pulled at UAL 8 when he pulled John Brink and John beat him. And that man, when he gets angry, he's a scary guy. You know, like he
yeah.
smacked the table and the table come up a couple inches. It's like shit. All right, let me stand over here. You know,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah, that whole
but
card that you were a part of in the last was the 506, 406, 506. I don't know.
506. Yeah.
Yeah, that was just great card. Um, and you can't like, I'm waking up at 4 a.m. to watch it live, and
Yeah.
I'm like, first round, and you did it, and there's no one to talk to, and I remember I'm like, I'm to myself, I'm like, he did it again. He
Yeah.
did it again, and you won the first, and I'm like, what's going on? So how did it
Yeah.
feel to go against Rob? Where do you feel like, what was lacking, what was needed, and what was.
I think honestly, you know, I only like to go in and critique myself because that's all I can control anyway. And then I'll break down what adjustments he made. He made a slight adjustment in the second that kind of put a little more pressure on my wrist when I initiated, from the go, and I could feel it, but it felt the same as the first match when I came here. And when I went to go over, I felt a lot more on my wrist. So I paused for a second, like what should I do? And I was like, fuck it, go for it. And that was my mistake. I should have stayed right
Should
there
have
because I could have
stayed a
stayed
little
there.
bit, but it's
Yeah,
it's kind of scary to be there with a guy like
yeah.
RVJ like he's and he gets back, and you just.
Well, there again it goes. The setup I was using, I wasn't letting him engage, anything from the get go. So, because I knew, going up against a guy who naturally walks around 30, 35 pounds heavier than you, he's going to be stronger than you most likely. That's not always the case, but he's the champ for a reason because he's strong. I pull super heavyweights all the time I can beat, so the hand size
Yeah.
and all of that wasn't a super big issue because, even the lightweights in my camp have pretty big hands. And I usually pull with the 220 guys and the super heavyweight guys a lot more. So, and for me though, the biggest issue other than that mistake, arm wrestling, I made a rookie mistake. And that's somewhat in the moment, you being amped up, stuff like that. But my right arm for the last 2, maybe 3 years hasn't been what it was like health wise. I'm not saying it's injured, but certain lifts in the gym really hurt it. So I stay away from those lifts. And at that time, it was, it's irritating pretty good. So I said, I'm going to stay away from lifting super heavy and I'm just going to go to extra high reps. And I added some bench press in there to try to put on a little weight, even a little squat. That's why I was, 200 pounds when I pulled him. I was doing a lot more traditional workouts. I felt strong as hell. I ain't gonna lie. For a guy that walks around 185, 190 when he's training to be 200, I was walking around pretty. But I'll say this too: I'd go to tie my shoe and I'd fucking give out of breath. So
Yeah.
I think that played into it a little bit. I should have just stuck to my normal arm wrestling routine and just said, screw it. If my arm hurts a little, it'll be all right. It hurts all the time. So, and a lot of times when I arm wrestle, it doesn't even hurt. It's when I'm training,
Yeah.
It's weird. But, I think just my endurance wasn't there. He made the right adjustment in the second match. And because as far as, ever since Tony beat me in 2015 in the semifinals, I noticed I had a hole in my game, and it was that not so much that I commit too much this way, but I didn't have this to go along with it, a drag.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where Tony beat me at. And, because we set up the same way, we did the same move. Our wrist was pretty even, but when he went to drag, it just, I couldn't do nothing with it. That's why I altered my setup in the next match. But ever since then, I've been training my drag like stupid, and I'm dragging heavyweights across the. That's why when you see me pull Mike, that was my purpose. I said I'm going to contain him. I'm going to drag him across the table, and I'm going to do what I want. And I knew with any good top roller, if you contain them, it's pretty much a wrap. If you can contain them from pronating out or staying on that hammer real hard, which is why I killed a lot of good top rollers like Giannis and Anthony D'Antonio. And people's like, oh, it's your side pressure. But when you take a good top roller
And deny them,
to here, it just goes on through, So, with hookers, I like to set back a little more and go straight down. Because, because he's going that direction.
He's going, he's helping you, boom.
If you want to see a good example of that, when I pulled Eli Sadova, I think's how you say it. He went to
Sadova,
yeah. I pulled him 2017. It wasn't long after WAL 2017 because he won left-handed lightweight, and I got second middleweight to Paul, and we pulled at 76, I think it was, best of three. I think I won 3-1 or 3-0. But as soon as I got to the table with him, he's got that European style. He's giving me nothing. I'm like, all right, I'm just going to do my normal thing. I just beat Todd Hutchins fucking month and a half ago. This kid can't be that strong, Beat Froda, I go, boom, and we're right in the hook instantly. And I go, and I look up, and he's looking at the crowd, shaking his head, and I'm going, oh, shit. I foul real quick, get a restart. And I sat way to the back of the table on all the way to the right. And when I went, I said, boom, pin. Second match, same thing, boom. And, it worked almost every time. The thing is when they do catch you and you're in a hook, their thumb is so far over that they can't generate side. And when they do, it's very painful. All they can really do is bicep curl you.
Yep.
Yeah. And your arm is in such a good angle, straight across with the table that they can't push through that without pushing you off the pad. So, like you said, it's all about angles and, speed. And, because there wasn't no way I was beating that dude in a hook that day. As a matter of fact, Reza told me, he's like, I don't know, he's like, that guy's going to Zloty, and I got him picked the dude pretty well. And I was like, all right, we'll see, And when I waxed him, Reza messaged me. He's like, you need to go to Zloty. I was like, you got some money? You want to help me out?
But that's a high table IQ when you can switch between styles and recognize what their opponent to do. It's this is another thing that as we are talking a lot about arm wrestling training technique and everything else, and people keep messaging us and they're like, I'm a good top roller, but my hook sucks, and I'm like, make your top roll better. Just don't like think about making your hook better just because you cannot top roll someone. Just make those small adjustments that you need to beat that guy. And perfect example, like you don't want to get in a hook ever. Maybe in training, of course, in training, why not? But in matches, you're like, I'm gonna do this, everything, not to get there. And that's one of the biggest arm wrestling lessons is not to be, again, don't be an MMA guy. Don't think about jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, and everything. Think about
Yeah,
one technique, to rule the ball, and just build
wrestling.
everything around that. Yeah.
I compare your hand to the wrestler. If your wrestling is better, I'm gonna dictate where the match will take place.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
if now there's an alternative, there's a counter move to every move. The move there is
Exactly.
speed. You know,
Yeah.
if I know I can't beat you in the wrestling, I got to knock you out. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's that small stuff. That's what I try to. The first things I try to teach new guys. I said, one, you need to be on the table. Don't worry about getting so strong because you don't know what the hell you need to do with that strength. I said, and work on your speed and work on your strap. I said, strap, referee's grip, and your speed. I said, because those are the only things that, like Devin said, those are the only three things your opponent can implement on you
Manipulate. Yeah. Yeah.
against your will. So,
Yeah.
and if
Yeah.
if you're faster, a lot of 9 out of 10 matches in the novice class, I don't know about 9 out of 10, but a high number is who gets to go. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
everybody's
Those.
like, well, I'm trying to train to be like Devin Larrett. I'm like, yeah, good luck with that shit.
Exactly. Yeah. It's everyone tries to imitate someone, when they cannot do those things. Like, I can never hook like Zoluyev. Like, there's no chance I can do that. Or Babayev. I can hook my own way.
Yeah,
That's and you will never top roll like, let's say, Ernest Gasparini or even Engin Terzi or whatever. John Brzezinski. But create your own style, and then then people
yeah.
recognize it as your style. And
My style is figuring out what shuts you down the fastest.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
and I agree with you 100% on making your top roll better if your hook sucks. But also, I had to figure this out the hard way, is that my setup was easy to hook. And if I know for 100% fact or pretty high percentage that this guy's going to try to hook me, I
yeah.
swap my setup and keep my top roll.
Adjustments, small adjustments.
Uh,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
this is the biggest problem with a lot of guys, especially a lot. I see it on some elite guys, especially in the super heavyweights.
Doing the
It's not so
doing the
much.
same shit over and over again when it doesn't work.
Yeah,
6-0 super matches with
yeah.
one same move, one move.
And I've done it. I've been a victim to it. I wasn't a veteran puller when it happened, but I wasn't on the top 8 and shit. But um,
Yeah, that's true.
my goal right now though is just to get stronger and healthier. And that's wherever they want to put me, they're gonna put me. Um, I wish, like we was talking about, they'd swap up the weight classes. That'd be great. But
Then they
I'm
can get some more people in, and if they do more
yeah.
more
Well, it
more
swaps up
events.
matches. Yeah, it
Yes.
swaps up matches. The middleweight division, if you say put it at 210, most of those same guys are going to arm wrestle there. A handful of them are going to drop down to this other class and create all kind of new matches. And some of the guys that were pulling at super heavyweights, I don't know if Barbosa probably can't make 210,
No, no,
but
not now.
a couple of those guys lighter weights might could. But like, say you'd put Craig I guarantee you Craig can make 85. I'll make 85. Tony will make 85. Um,
Yeah,
there's just a whole lot of guys. Solaris will make 85, guarantee you. A lot of guys they haven't put in there as of late that are, and I'm gonna tell you, this break sucks, but tournaments still going on, and still, like Corey West, there's another monster for the super heavyweight
yep,
class. Paul Lynn, he's already there, but he's looking even better. We've seen a little bit of Paul Talbot too. He's looking a little leaner. I think he's around 85. And if you want to know my true want, that's who I want left-handed.
Paul
Him
Talbot,
or Perez, I think's how you say it.
Vresh Sedyak. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I can't pronounce that.
Vresh,
Zesh.
Vresh,
Yeah.
Vresh.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Ball-headed guy. Yeah. I pulled him
yeah,
when I beat Kenny. Um, like a year or two ago. I think it was 2 years. And he came and pulled every weight class and pretty much wiped the floor with everybody.
His left is
I would,
insane.
yeah,
That hook is
yeah. His wrist flexion and his containment is stupid. Like
keeps
I'm,
like this, and
I don't understand it, but I would love to pull him. Not even saying I'd beat him. I just think he's the best pound for pound left arm in the United States currently. I don't think he's a citizen. That don't really matter to me. You're living here right now, so him or Paul would be my ideal match. Because I hadn't had a super match with a guy that walks around under 200 pounds, and I don't know how long. Well, I take that back. Ali was the first guy, and honestly,
Ali,
that's
yeah,
why
yeah,
I was not sweating that guy one bit. And it wasn't because I didn't think he was good. It's just like I know what I'm doing with my left arm right now. Like I'm
yeah,
holding really good 200-pound guys and doing whatever I want. So, and I knew I brought another element to the table that he was not prepared for. He was not prepared for this kind of grip, and he wasn't prepared for me talking shit to him. Yeah, you could tell as soon
yeah.
as I walked to the table and I looked at him and I said, "Are you ready for this shit, boy?" He just like he looked around.
What's going on? What's going on?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he looked
yeah,
around like confused, and he's like, "Are you ready?" I'm like, well, that was lame as shit. All right, let's go. And
yeah,
I don't know. But that makes people want to see it. And there was no real animosity with me and this guy. It was strictly competitive. I could have said a lot of insulting things, but I didn't. And I think people still wanted to watch it, even though we weren't fucking, F your mama or whatever. It was
yeah.
still, although I'll say I don't think he's as good at trash talking. I think he needs a lot of work in that area. He's about as bad as Storm Chelino. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Do you have anything lined up right now? Tournaments or something?
And no, I was actually looking to. I'm still thinking about going to Nevada and Hawthorne in March. I think it is. I think it's March, and we got one in Cottondale in June. I think it's a qualifier for the IFA thing.
Yeah.
I hadn't solidified anything, man. I'm still. I was getting back to training next week because I should be wrapping up my remodel, but this happened, so that was pretty nasty. I'm not gonna lie. That was like it hit me about right here, and all this was like laid over.
Oh man.
I don't know if you can see that with my yeah. It wasn't fun, but
You, it's a rest, for that arm. It's gonna
yeah.
get more rested, more rested.
Well,
Yeah.
this one's still sore as shit from last weekend, so I'm used to working it out and it feeling better by Friday. But it's I can definitely tell you what Craig Toulier told me years and years ago is still valid. He said, after a tournament, best thing to do is go to the gym the next morning.
Yeah,
I was like,
get blood flow and faster recovery, much
yeah,
faster.
yeah,
Yeah, than
yeah,
just sitting around doing nothing for weeks. Yeah.
yeah. I still try to do that.
Okay. We're almost hour in. Thank you, Justin. Yeah.
Hey, no problem, bro.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
Good luck with everything. Always fun to watch you pull, and yeah, you kind of. There's, like you said, so many interesting matchups that I would really want to see, because the USA rankings is such a mess, because basically no top guys are pulling each other. They're just, winning this
Yeah,
region, winning this state, and no one's coming together and making. I'm looking at rankings, and I'm like, these guys didn't even pull each other. Like, how can you rank someone, So
yeah, and
more.
well, I hadn't even looked. Somebody told me, do you want to pull such and such guy? He's ranked number 3 or something, and I'm like, who? He's ranked above me? All right,
How? Yeah.
yeah, and I don't even. I learned a long time ago to not even get into the rankings
No,
because
no, no, no.
it's so like honestly, people ain't gonna agree with me on this, but the best way to do it is the way the WAO was gonna do it, and I think Bowen actually gave them the idea. I could be wrong, but it's the way you do tennis, with points, active, you know. Yeah, and because you and I know. I could beat you today, and next week you beat me. You
Yeah.
know, it's
Yeah.
just that person's day. But the overall best arm wrestler is going to be the most active arm wrestler,
Most active,
yeah,
biggest winner, and who?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Constantly
And
winning is a factor. Yeah.
the only thing I hate about that is for guys like me who don't have near the time some of these guys have.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be as active. With 3 kids and a business, I'm just not. But
Yeah.
it's the most efficient. It keeps guys wanting to arm wrestle, but
Yeah.
there's no true way to solidify a number one 100%, in my opinion. Now, you're always going to come down to the same 3 guys, most likely, or the same, or a group of people. Because you could argue right now that Mike's the best in the world, or you could argue that LeBron is, but who is, and even if they pulled, you'd be like, well, Mike just lost to Jerry, but if the strap wasn't screwed up, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
So I don't even look at that shit anymore. I was number one left and right-handed at 176 pounds and number 4 in the world right-handed and like number 14 left-handed at one time. I'm all right with that. If I never make number one again, whatever, And if you are number one, the guy doing the rankings, and it's undisputed, you're going to be number one,
Yeah.
If
Everyone
it's
knows.
undisputed.
Everyone knows. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like I'm ranked
Everyone
number
knows
10.
who's number one. Yeah.
Like I'm number 10 on the Alabama State rankings right now. But
Yeah.
we just started them, and we just draw names out of a hat. And the only way you can move up on the list is to challenge the guy above you. So it's strictly on who beats who. We don't even count tournaments because you're not fresh and so on and so forth. It's more to keep the group active than anything.
Active, exactly. Yeah.
Give them something to pull for.
Okay, thank you, Justin,
Yes,
and we'll talk soon again. I hope so. Yeah. Good luck, man, with everything.
Anytime, brother. Anytime you want to talk, just hit me up.
Yeah. Bye.